So let's jump into our spoiler-free discussion of Die My Love.
Have you seen this?
Have you seen this?
Have you seen this?
I know, I've seen this. I know this.
Die My Love, directed by, is it Lynne Ramsey? Lynne? They have an E at the end. It kind of throws me off. Anyways, Grace, a writer and young mother, is slowly slipping into madness. Locked away in an old house in Montana, her increasingly agitated and erratic behavior leaves her companion Jackson worried and helpless.
Robert Pattinson, yeah,
No.
the Batman, also of Twilight fame, also of you guys seen Remember Me? Yeah, Adrian, no. Man, I mean, that's a movie I don't want to spoil, but at the end when you realize like
It's
the setting,
let me tell you, that
yeah,
that movie wrecked me and my mom, where we were like at the end.
talk about
Like, you gasped.
manipulating
If you
emotions.
don't audibly gasp during that movie, you did not watch that movie.
Like when it happens, you're like, oh,
You're
fuck.
like,
Yeah,
you're really
yeah,
sat there
yeah.
thinking like, they just did that.
Yeah, it's one that you got to see without, you can't be told anything about it. But
No.
anyways, Die My Love. Erica, lead us with your opening thoughts on the movie. Uh-oh, here we go.
I don't know that I was a fan. I
Okay.
think I'm just not a fan of chaotic movies. I'm trying to say this with like as little spoilers. There's just a lot of like very, very intense, aggressive moments in this scenario. I understand why. The movie is very clearly transparent and upfront about what it is the entire time you're watching the film. Um, but yeah, I mean, it if you look at her other films, it's very much on brand for how she makes you feel in her films.
Right.
I don't know, maybe that I wanted so much more from both Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson, and not as far as performance, because I think that they both play that slightly unhinged very well. I think it was more of just like, I don't know. I get that they like to make weird, freaky movies now that they're, done with their franchise and where they get to kind of like unwind and be whoever they want to be. But I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of the movie overall, I think.
That's fair. I mean, I think it deals with postpartum depression because, as mentioned, she has the baby and then starts feeling away. From what I understand, a lot of women feel after having a baby. It just really takes it up a level.
So me actually having kids and seeing postpartum in action, it was on point. It was, I know you said like the chaoticness of it, like you didn't like how it was chaotic, and honestly, that's postpartum. I can't. It was like watching stuff that we've gone through, me and my family, like in a video. I watched it with my wife, and she was triggered for sure. She was just like, oh my gosh, like that's exactly the things that were going through my head. That's exactly how you vision things happening. So it was a real movie. I leaned into Robert Pattinson's character. And I kept like looking at her. I legit kept looking at her, and she was just like laughing, like he looked so exhausted, and I was like,
Sure.
So it was we enjoyed it, but it's not something that we would probably watch again.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely triggering.
Right.
Which is like very on brand for a Lynne Ramsey film. Like it's a
Right.
very eye-opening experience, and like I said, it gives you very intense feelings. It's got, like I said, the chaos, which is kind of like a theme within her films as
It's
well.
interesting the accuracy that they're able to get. Like you almost, my wife even said, like, do you think she has gone through any type of, like, where do you think she's pulling this from? Like she doesn't have kids, right? Jennifer Lawrence has
I
kids.
believe
Oh, I
she's
don't know.
come out and
I don't follow
Yeah,
their
she does.
private lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's
Yeah,
even
yeah,
come
yeah.
out and talked about the postpartum kind of
Mhm.
how to deal with that, the identity crisis that it gives, kind of trying to figure out where you fit in your marriage while also how you fit in as a mother versus how you fit in as yourself. And she's like, especially being an actress, like, how do I find that? How do I add that to myself, but also like still be me?
Absolutely. And, to your point, Erica, about Jennifer Lawrence and the career path she's taken more recently. And that, when I say recently, realistically, that's like last, 8 years at this
Yeah,
point,
8, 10 years.
have have been more off the grid or more surreal or more cerebral, more psychological. And I think we obviously need movies like that. There's a lot of like metaphor, but also like what's really happening, what's not. And I have a guest today that can better summarize my efforts in watching this movie. You may know him from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Jim Carrey, who plays Joel, is the guest I am bringing on to represent how I was trying to figure out this film.
Great. All right. Okay, here we go. Let's make you happy if I try.
Yeah.
I'll try really hard. Here we go. That's a great idea. Here. Okay. Well, that's working like gangbusters. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. What is that? Jesus Christ. What the? What is he doing with that? It did work for a second.
I picked that scene because I did watch this movie twice. And the first time it's like, okay, there's something here. There's something here, but it is quite abstract. And there's a lot of moments, like I was saying, like what's really happening, what's in her head. So the second time I'm like, all right, let me open up my eyes and let me lock in and really try to like study this and like really break down certain moments. And by the end, to be honest, I felt kind of just as lost. Like more questions arise. There's certain symbols, there's certain things we talk about in spoilers a bit more. It's a good film. There's a lot of interesting things happening, but Adrian, you were talking about Rabbit Trap, that you watched that movie. And I watched that also this last week. And that also has elements of like what's happening? You know what I mean? Like what's going on? And like with this one, it wasn't as fantastical,
Mhm.
but it still had like, okay, is this person real? Is this person doing things? Is anyone else seeing this? Where is she right now? So there's a lot of elements that are kind of, I guess you could say, open-ended into interpretation. But it's interesting, Adrian, to hear your perspective as far as like how on brand it was for postpartum, like, and that you watched with Rosalind. And like was there anything in like particular, or just kind of like her own, you don't have to say like specific things, I just mean like from the movie where like there's elements of her not trusting things, or her, this isn't a spoiler, but her like crawling like a cat.
No, so like the crawling things, she kind of like, what's up with the deal with that? I think it was more metaphorical, like primal kind of things. It was more like her blank stares, how she wants to reply to people, like that attitude, that whole like, oh, I burned my fingers, making a cake for you. Like, the whole rudeness,
Right.
the whole hormonal, like wanting to be intimate, like random crazy times, and then all of a sudden, like, don't touch me, leave me alone. Like, I can't, wanting nothing to do with anybody or anything. I liked the only part that I think was missing in the movie was the element of, well, for us, the postpartum that we dealt with was more of like wanting to harm the baby, stuff like that. Like we were worried, like, oh, are you gonna, you can't be alone with the baby for a little while. Like let's keep an eye on you, you know, like stuff like that, just because of the stories and the horror and stuff like that that you listen to. But yeah, but other than that, it was on point. Like one thought to the next, not knowing what's real, what's not real. That's pretty on brand.
I think it will benefit from being
Yeah.
able to talk freely and spoilers. So let's quickly do our Commodus scale. As far as thumbs up, even or down, and how we felt about the movie. Erica, where are you going? And remember, it's an audio podcast as well.
I know. I'm gonna put myself in the middle.
Oh, even
Um,
okay.
I that's subject to change. I think kinda like you, Michael, if I were to watch this movie again and, like, really kind of try to nail down what was real, what wasn't real, kind of gentle make the chaos a little bit more gentle, like, by watching
Mm.
it in a separate setting where it's, like, a little bit calmer, maybe I might enjoy it more, but, I think we've also lost Adrian
This
again.
is going to be a rough one. This is going to be a rough. uh, but listen, we
Um,
heard. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, yeah, I think if I watched it again, I might actually give it, like, a thumbs up rather than a sideways
Mm,
thumbs just to kinda give myself a little bit more space to watch that, and it's not that, like, I can't relate, like, I've had friends who've gone through that, and I've, like, attested to, like, yeah, you feel fucking nuts, like, you feel
mm-hmm,
insane. I think seeing it depicted is, like, way different because, like I said, you hear those stories and then you see this film and you're like, "Wow, that's kind of insane." Like, I wonder, like, how true to it is, and then to have Adrian say, like, "Yeah, it's pretty close."
yeah.
Maybe I need to watch it again to kinda give it a second opinion there.
And I mean, there's that whole element of it too, is like the things that Jennifer Lawrence, Grace or Gracie, I think Grace,
Yeah, Grace.
her character name is, the things she's experiencing are all represented well as far as someone that's going through postpartum. But I think like the story and elements that happen is where it gets kind of a little jumbled. But I think that could
Mhm.
also just represent like her mind. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's that chaos. Well, Adrian mentioned when we opened that they enjoyed it, so I'm going to assume it's a thumbs up. He can correct us if he if he makes it back. Uh, I, I think I'm going thumbs up because I think this movie could also have been a disaster if it was handled the wrong way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like misrepresenting the postpartum symptoms, or like really making her out to be a villain. But I think it does a good job of kind of balancing the empathy we have for her, maybe at the cost of like the character Jackson, Robert Pattinson's character. Like, it's
I
interesting.
mean,
Like, how do you feel about him?
yeah, it's, 'cause it's a fine line because how do you really blame somebody for a thing like, for if that's the chaos that's going through her mind and the feelings that she's having and not being able to kind of control that and not really kind of, like, knowing why you're feeling like that. 'Cause
Hmm.
talking to people who've had postpartum, the biggest issue is, like, knowing that you don't actually truly feel like that, but then feeling like that anyway. So it's
Hmm. Hmm.
so tough to swallow. So it's like, yeah, they wanted to you can't really make that person out to be a villain, but it's also like you said, the story's so jumbled and you kinda don't know what's happening. You're like, "Well, what's real? Like, what am I supposed
Right.
to be upset about with her for?" And with him, how are you supposed to like, somebody who's navigating their first child and they don't really know what's going on either, you know?
And I
So,
think that's exactly what the movie is trying to do, as far as like put you in that mindset of like,
yeah.
I don't know how I should react to this, either to her or to him.